everyone. I thought I'd just do a tiny little video about the word blips. I've heard it quite a bit this last week, and certainly I've experienced that myself. You could argue that my 5 weeks of taking my eye off the ball before our Venice trip, and then over Easter, and then after our Venice trip, after the Peak District, all of that 5 weeks where I just took my eye off the ball, didn't really want to think about the consequences, that could be called one rather giant blip, which of course resulted in me putting a stone on, as I've talked about before, and now facing the consequences of that. Blips are, however, incredibly important when it comes to weight maintenance and weight loss, actually, because those times when those blips occur, those are the times when you most need to look at what's going on. There's always a reason for the blips, always. Because obviously on the one hand you want to lose the weight, but then on the other hand something comes along to cause the blip, and it's looking at that cause factor. That's what gives the ability to, the next time these things happen, because you flagged it up and you figured out what was going on for you, what were the underlying feelings, what was happening. Was it to do with somebody? There's a trigger basically that starts this whole process off. Was it someone you're with? Definitely happens with me, with my husband, because he's a appalling influence on my weight loss and weight maintenance. Not his fault, my fault by being swayed by him, I hasten to add. Is it environmental? Is it because you're just so run ragged at work, or because you're not getting any downtime? Is it something to do with a feeling that comes up? So a great example for me is whenever we drop Ollie off at uni, I'm always very sad, and that's often a trigger point for me. So the point of discussing blips and looking at the blips a little bit more closely is that by looking at them and figuring out what was that trigger, what was that causative factor, that's what's given me the control long term. I can choose to ignore it, which I did for 5 weeks, and to go into denial. Those 5 weeks I didn't jump on the scales, I didn't monitor on my Fitness Pal, I just didn't want to know, for various factors that I've had to look at and deal with. Bottom line is I have had to get my head around making myself face that, and then making myself get back on plan and shifting that stone that I've put on. And I've talked in the various groups about the fact that 9 pounds is now gone. Woohoo! Thank goodness for step 2. And I'm feeling a zillion times better. I cannot tell you how much better I feel for getting rid of that. Now, that's just a blip. It's just a blip. I've dealt with it. I don't see that as a failure. I don't see it. I could have thought to myself, I knew I'd be rubbish at maintaining, even though I've done it for 6 years. I knew that something would happen and make me completely lose control. But the point is that I took the time to stop and think about that blip moment over those 5 weeks and think, what's going on here, and what do I need to do about that to take back control? Because I have to take back control. I have to have that lifetime awareness, or my weight will just creep up, and that 7.5 stone will go back on again. And I so don't want that. So look closely at those blips. They tell you so much. Hope that helps.